Hello there and welcome. Now, today's discussion is brought to you by the experts over at My Tax Accountant. And you know what? They wanted to help clear up one of the biggest headaches for pretty much anyone moving home here in the UK. Yep, we are talking all about council tax.
So you've finally got the keys to your new place. Absolutely brilliant. But listen, before you even think about unpacking the kettle, there is one critical number you have got to sort out. Seriously, getting it wrong or even worse, just ignoring it, can lead to a really unwelcome, backdated bill landing right on your doormat months later. And trust me, nobody wants that kind of surprise.
So to make absolutely sure that doesn't happen to you, we've teamed up with the fantastic people at My Tax Accountant. They are absolute pros at making complex tax stuff simple, and they've helped us put together this complete guide to getting your council tax sorted from the very beginning to the very end.
We've laid this all out like a clear mission. First up, we'll set the scene. Then we'll get our heads around the basics. After that, I'll walk you through registering, step by step. Then we'll tackle those annoying challenges that can pop up. Next, my favorite part, unlocking discounts. And finally, we'll cover your next steps. It's a solid plan for a really crucial task.
Right then, let's kick off our mission. Look, we all know moving is famously stressful, isn't it? When you're surrounded by boxes and chaos, sorting out bills can just feel, well, overwhelming. But getting registered for council tax should be right at the top of your to-do list. It's an absolutely vital part of setting up your new home.
So, what on earth is council tax, really? Well, to put it simply, it's the local tax you pay to your local council. And this money doesn't just vanish into thin air. It pays for all those essential services we rely on every single day. You know, things like bin collections, fixing the roads, funding local schools, and keeping our streets clean. It's a key responsibility for pretty much every adult living in a home here.
Okay, before you jump in and register, it really pays to understand the landscape. Knowing the basics of how this whole thing works will make the process so much smoother, and it'll help you spot if something doesn't look quite right with your bill down the line. So let's get to know the terrain, shall we?
So, what's really fascinating here is how they actually calculate your bill. Every single home is put into what's called a valuation band, from A all the way up to H in England. And here's the slightly bizarre part. These bands are based on what the property was worth way back on April 1st, 1991. That's right, 1991. Did you know why? Well, trying to revalue every single property in the UK would be this massive politically charged nightmare. So this system, as weird as it seems, just sticks around. As you can see from these 2025-26 examples on screen, the higher the band, the more you're going to pay. And believe it or not, it gets even more complex. The amount you pay isn't just about the band your house is in, it's also massively about where you live. Each local council sets its very own tax rate, and that can make a huge difference. For the 2025-26 tax year, the bill for an identical Band D property could be over £1,000 more in a city like Nottingham than it is in Westminster. That's right, your postcode has a massive impact on your final bill.
Okay, so who actually has to cough up the cash? Well, if you own your home, it's you. Simple. If you're renting, it's almost always you too, so please always double-check your tenancy agreement. Now that's not all. Here's where most people go wrong, especially in flat shares. All the adults on the tenancy agreement can be held jointly and severally liable. That's just a fancy way of saying the council can chase any one of you for the full amount. So if you're a freelancer in a London flat share and your housemate suddenly moves out, you need to make sure the council knows. The main exception to all this is for houses in multiple occupation, or HMOs, where the landlord is the one who's responsible.
Right. Now that we've got the lay of the land, it's time for the main event, actually registering. This is the absolute core of our mission, and honestly, it is not as scary as it sounds. We're going to break it down into simple, easy-to-follow steps.
Here we go, 4 clear stages. First up, you need to find your local council. The easiest way by far is on the gov.uk website. You just pop in your postcode. Second, gather up all your info. We'll talk about exactly what you need in a moment. Third, get registered on your council's website. It's usually the quickest way. And finally, you just have to wait for your first bill to arrive in the post or your inbox, which will have that all-important council tax number right there on it.
You know, a little bit of prep work is key for a smooth registration. Before you go online or pick up the phone, just make sure you have this info ready. Your full name, your new address, and, this is crucial, the exact date you moved in. If you're renting, have your landlord's details handy. If you've bought the place, you'll need the completion date from your solicitor. Honestly, having all this ready to go will make the whole process an absolute breeze.
Now, just a quick word on timing. You might register and expect your bill to arrive instantly, but, well, that rarely happens. You've got to be patient. Councils in big cities get incredibly busy, especially around the start of the financial year in April or when all the students move in September. It can easily take 6 to 8 weeks, maybe even longer, to process everything. So the key takeaway here is register as soon as you move in. Don't put it off.
And here is a fantastic pro tip for anyone who's worried about falling behind on payments while you're waiting for that number. You really don't want a big bill landing after 2 months. The good news is many councils will let you make a payment using just your new address as the reference. Just be absolutely sure to keep a record of that payment, like a screenshot of the confirmation page, so you've got proof you've been on the ball.
Okay, so we've covered the ideal scenario. But what happens when things don't go quite to plan? This is where it can get a little tricky. Stay with me. This next part could genuinely save you a massive headache by getting you ready for the most common bumps in the road.
One of the biggest areas of confusion is always the responsibility between tenants and landlords. So let's clear it up. The tenant is usually the one responsible for registering and for paying. It's your job to tell the council when you move in, and just as importantly, when you move out. For landlords, their main responsibility kicks in for those HMOs, or if the property is sitting empty between tenants, where they might be able to claim a temporary discount.
Right, these are the issues that just pop up time and time again. You might get a bill that seems way too high, or maybe you get a scary, backdated demand for payment. Maybe they've simply spelt your name wrong, or perhaps you've got that nagging feeling that your home is in a higher council tax band than all your neighbors. Whatever it is, don't panic. For every single one of these issues, there is a clear process to challenge it and get it sorted. The key is to act fast.
Here's a great one. Did you know there are special rules just for students? If you're a full-time student, you are completely exempt from paying council tax. But, and this is a really big but, the council won't just magically know you're a student. You have to get a certificate of student status from your university and send it to the council as proof. Oh, and if you live in a mixed household with non-students, the property can still get a 25% discount because you are disregarded for council tax purposes. So it's always worth checking.
Phew, we've dealt with the challenges. And now for the really good stuff, saving money. So many people overpay their council tax simply because they don't know they're eligible for a discount. Think of this next section as a bit of a treasure map to some serious potential savings.
Okay, the most common and by far the easiest discount to claim is the single-person discount. If you're the only adult aged 18 or over living in your property, you are entitled to a massive 25% off your entire bill. I mean, that is a huge chunk of your annual cost, and it could potentially save you hundreds and hundreds of pounds. So, if you live alone, you need to make sure you've claimed this.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because you can sometimes combine discounts for even bigger savings. Let's take this example of Sarah and John for the 2025/26 tax year. Their initial bill is £2,400. First, they apply for a disability band reduction because their home has been adapted. This drops the bill to the next band down, making it £2,100. Then, because John has a severe mental impairment, he is disregarded for council tax. This means Sarah can then claim a single-person discount on top of that, which cuts another 25% off, bringing the final bill all the way down to just £1,575. That's a total saving of £825 a year. It really pays to check everything you might be eligible for.
And here is another absolutely brilliant pro tip for managing your budget. By default, most councils will bill you in 10 monthly payments from April to January, giving you a break in February and March. But what many people don't know is that you have the right to ask them to spread those payments over the full 12 months. Now, this doesn't reduce the total amount you pay, but it does lower your monthly outgoings, which can make a real difference to your cash flow.
And there we have it. We've navigated the entire process from start to finish. You're now fully equipped to get your council tax number and manage your account with confidence. So let's just quickly recap the absolute mission-critical points. So remember, be proactive and register the moment you move in. Once you get that council tax number, keep it somewhere safe. Always take 5 minutes to check for available discounts. You might be really surprised. And finally, your council is there to help. If something is wrong or if you're struggling to pay, get in touch with them straight away. So the real question is, have you checked what you're eligible for lately?
Look, we've covered a lot, but sometimes you just need an expert on your side. For those really complex situations, like a big backdated bill, a band appeal, or even if you just want some peace of mind, the team at My Tax Accountant are ready to help. You can reach them directly on WhatsApp, by phone on 07854-255-375, or by email. All their details are right there on the screen for you.
I really hope this guide from my tax accountant has helped demystify the slightly confusing world of council tax. If it has, please do subscribe to their channel. They're regularly putting out clear, practical guides just like this one to help you manage your finances with real confidence. Thanks so much for watching.